Hey everyone, today I wanted to take a little dive into Easton Lucas. As we all know by now, he's made 2 starts in the major leagues, his first 2 career starts, and he's looked phenomenal so far for the Blue Jays. For a guy that got kind of beat up in previous years, I just wanted to have a look through his Baseball Savant page and see what had changed year over year and what he's doing differently now that's allowing him to succeed. And there were just a few things that I noticed that I wanted to get into, so I'm going to do that now. First things first, you'll look at his pitch usage. In 2024, he was using a cutter 20% of the time and a slider 20% of the time. And you'll notice against lefties, he was basically exclusively fastball slider. And then against righties, you would see a lot more of the fastball changeup, which is not abnormal. Most pitchers are that way. But if you look up to 2025 this year, he's actually increased the velocity on that slider a little bit, and he's kind of merged his 2 pitches, his cutter and his slider. So instead of using the cutter 20% of the time, it is now basically not registering other than when he accidentally throws a slightly harder slider. And he's sped up the slider from 83 miles an hour average up to about an 86 to 87 mile an hour average. So really, in my eyes, he has merged those 2 pitches. And it's allowed him to have a third pitch versus lefties, as well as just an incredibly effective sweeper in general, although, it is being used against lefties almost exclusively till this point. What I mean by that is, look here, I will show a quick clip of his cutter from 2024 now, all right? And you'll see it is a hard pitch, not a lot of break to it at all. It's almost right lined up with his four-seamer. And then here's a clip of what his slider looked like. And again, you'll notice it is a significantly slower, more what you would traditionally see a slider be. And then we fast forward to 2025, and I'll show you just real quick what his four-seamer looks like. And then I'm going to follow that up with a slider.
Go hot next time, man.
And then a sweeper.
So the southpaw,
and I'm just going to go ahead and show you these overlaid now.
Easton Lucas.
So the sweeper is now coming in at 80 miles an hour. So he's actually subbed out that slow slider with that sweeper, taking a couple miles an hour off of it, getting significantly more horizontal break. And I'll actually flip up to this page now where we're showing what the breaks are. And you will see he's gone in the vertical break. His slider has gone from about 36 inches of vertical drop and 11 glove side movement on his horizontal break to now 34 in 2025 with only 3 inches of horizontal break. So he's still getting the vertical break more or less, but a significantly less glove side run on the slider. And then that's where the sweeper comes in. The slower sweeper is getting that same glove side run that the slider had last year, only 5 more inches of vertical break, and it is thrown about 2 miles an hour slower. So he's really getting more differentiation between his fastball, his slider, and his sweeper there, as opposed to last year where the cutter and slider were just not as effective. There wasn't as much movement on the cutter. It wasn't different enough. And the slider became ineffective because my guess would be they were sitting on it because it was so much slower and there was only one variation of it. So now that he's got the 7 mile an hour gap between the four-seam velocity and the slider, and then another 6 mile an hour gap between the slider and the sweeper, he's seeing a lot more effective results. And of course, the fact that they behave quite differently. There's more vertical drop on the sweeper and significantly more glove side run, as I mentioned. So there's a lot more differentiation between the 3 pitches now. And he's continuing to use a really good changeup. That's been a good pitch for him before. He's just starting to work it in a lot more. And I believe that it's the change in the off-speed stuff that's allowing all of his pitches to play up at this point in time. So yeah, none of this feels lucky with Easton Lucas. It seems like it's by design. They've done a really good job reworking his pitches and changing up the usage as well. Now, what'll be interesting to see is how teams adapt to him, because the book would have been out a little bit, not that you're really studying into a career AAA guy who's only made a few appearances out of the bullpen, but now that he's actually shown that he's effective for 2 starts, and there's a little bit more data available on his new pitching repertoire, and he's been effective. He's actually going to get a little bit more attention now, and people are going to be taking him a little bit more seriously. It will be really interesting to see how teams adjust to the new pitches now that they have some data on it. So that's something I'll be looking forward to. If he can keep this going, start stringing together weeks and months at a time of this, we may have another case of the Bowden Francis situation there, where he came in the second half of last year after looking relatively mediocre to becoming essentially unhittable. Yeah, something really similar could be going on here with Easton Lucas, where just a couple tweaks to his pitch usage, and we've seen Pete Walker do this in the past with Robbie Ray and Jay Happ and guys like that. He has been quite a whisperer. Actually, Yusei Kikuchi, even for that matter. He's done a really good job with some of these lefties, mixing up their pitches a little bit better, getting a little bit more break where it's required, changing some velocities around, and really remastering these pitchers into valuable commodities, which I think Easton Lucas is at this point. At least he appears to be. Anyways, just a little observation I wanted to pass along, something I found interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. We'll talk to you guys later, all right? Have a good one.